Yo! No idea why I just did that, but we'll let it slide for now. So, I'm here to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I have no Ant-Man and the Wasp memorabilia beside me, which is funny because I was planning to buy the Ant-Man mask and wear it to the theater, but unfortunately things kinda got in the way, and apparently that movie just came a little too fast for my liking, and yeah, I didn't have it, and I was also planning to go back and revisit some of the old Ant-Man sets from the first movie, which I didn't get a chance to purchase any. I don't even know if they were on sale over here. Probably wasn't, because I didn't see anyone for the Doctor Strange ones. I had to order it specially, but yeah, I would have had a nice little ant with two Ant-Men on it, and I didn't even have the Lego Ant-Man and the Wasp sets on display here, so just get rid of that for now. So you'll just have to contend with this being empty space. But regardless, I love Ant-Man and the Wasp. I love it. I mean, it's not mind-blowingly good. It's not like, oh my god, what a movie. I mean, it's not like, you know, the hot thing. It's just fun. It's good. It's, you know, it makes you feel good on the inside. And that's really what you're looking forward to in a movie. I mean, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just, you know, a lot of people these days just go to movies and, you know, they want action, they want this, they want that, and when a movie doesn't deliver on everything, they go, well, that sucks. Well, I mean, the first Ant-Man, it wasn't like a world-ending disaster or anything. It was a small, contained thing. Well, small Ant-Man. Well, regardless, it does make sense. I mean, the entire final, I guess you can call it, final boss battle took place inside a little girl's bedroom on a toy train set, and they literally had the main antagonist and the main protagonist. I don't know why I did it backwards, but never mind. Ant-Man and Yellow Jacket had a giant, you know, full action-y fight with effects and, you know, everything, and it all took place inside a suitcase with little pieces of candy and keys dangling around and a smartphone playing a song. I mean, it really doesn't take giant set pieces to make a good movie. And the Ant-Man movies have definitely delivered on that part. And I believe the second one did a much better job than the original, which is weird for me to say because the original was just so good that, you know, going into this one, as I was sitting in the theater, as the first few lines were being said, I had this little glimmer of fear that the second Ant-Man wouldn't be able to live up to the first one. But it did, and it did it in spades, because there was a bit of a problem with Guardians of the Galaxy. I went into that movie thinking that the second one was going to completely outshine the first one, and that was just a near impossible task, because the first one was about as perfect of a comic book movie as you can get. Ultimately, it didn't. The first one is still much better than the second, but the same was not the case with Ant-Man and the Wasp. All the characters were improved upon. They took everything that happened to them in the first movie. Scott Lang, in particular, took everything that happened to him in Captain America: Civil War, everything that affected him, and evolved into this new character in this movie, which happened pretty beautifully. And speaking of Captain America Civil War, they do talk about the events that happened in that movie a lot, especially the incredible airport scene which took place in Germany. And they talk about it so much that someone might say that it's a little bit of pandering or hitting you over the head with, hey, remember that thing happened in that other movie, but it's not. It really is not. It's done very subtly. They don't, try to jam it in to the plot too much. It's just stuff happened, and you see the ramifications of it in this movie. And we really didn't have a movie that kind of centered around what happened in Germany up till now. I mean, immediately after, well, not immediately, I wish it were immediately, but immediately after Captain America Civil War, we had Doctor Strange, which was a completely isolated thing happening in the Far East, which was unrelated at all to anything that happened in Civil War, and it's really unclear right now exactly when that movie takes place on the Marvel timeline, unless it doesn't. I'm just forgetting. But then we had Guardians of the Galaxy, which took place in space, and years before. Sorry, this thing is bothering me. Years before Infinity War and that stuff. Then, of course, you had Spider-Man: Homecoming, which kind of centered around Civil War, but the other side of it. I mean, Peter Parker himself wasn't affected by the Sokovia Accords and, all of that. And then we had Thor, which had like 5 minutes on Earth, and the rest of the movie was in space. And of course Black Panther, which was completely isolated in its own country. And Infinity War, which was just all around the place. And they kind of referenced Ant-Man in that movie, and in this movie we see why Ant-Man and the Wasp were not in Avengers Infinity War, and what happened to them. Ant-Man himself, Scott Lang, played by Paul Rudd, again, just like I said, up the ante. I mean, I can pretty much go a full hour on this. Every single character up the ante of himself and the movie itself from the first movie. There's no real reason to waste too much time on it. I've already gone over 8 minutes in this thing, because, let's just say that all the returning characters, Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas, Michael Pena, David Osmolchin, T.I., am I forgetting someone? Judy Greer, to a smaller extent. Bobby Cannavale was a completely different character, but it kind of worked in the context of the movie. And I always forget the name of the little kid that plays Cassie, Scott Lang's daughter. But everyone kind of, well, she was a little kid in the first one, and in this movie she's a little older. And that kind of reflects everyone else in the movie. Everyone just sort of matured. They sort of level up from the first movie to this one, and it felt natural. It didn't felt like it was out of place, and some of the jokes were also leveled up. In my before and after video, I've compared this movie to Deadpool, where Deadpool 2, about 80% of the jokes were just repeats of the jokes that were in the first movie, just extended a little bit or tweaked a little bit in a way where I guess they thought the audience just wouldn't notice or wouldn't care. But this movie doesn't deal with that. It kind of touches a little bit. I guess it's the reverse of the Deadpool. About 20% of the jokes were kind of recycled, but again tweaked a little bit, and they've introduced a whole new cycle of jokes, and new types of how to tell their jokes. They introduced they kind of introduced a new funny way of just stopping the plot and making it a little funnier, and you'll see exactly why I'm specifically saying it like that once you see the movie. As far as new characters, I adore Michelle Pfeiffer in this movie. I mean, she wasn't in the movie that much. I cannot say much for spoilers, but she's my new favorite character in the Ant-Man franchise. I mean, more than Hope, more than Michael Douglas's character, more than Paul Rudd. I mean, there's something magical about that woman. I mean, first of all, can we just acknowledge the fact that this woman just doesn't age at all? I mean, they used some of the de-aging technology that they used in the first movie on her face, and really, it didn't really did much of a difference, because that woman hasn't aged at all for like 20 years. I mean, she looks almost the same as she did on Batman Returns 25 years ago, which is just shocking. 26 years ago, I don't even remember. So anyway, and they even tried to make her look older. It didn't work. It looked kind of awkward and out of place, because that woman was just not meant to be old. I think she's in her 50s, maybe even 60s, and she still just looks beautiful. And it's not just her pretty looks that gives her my vote in this movie, because she does certain things in this movie which I was not expecting from a character that didn't really get much screen time in the first one, and she wasn't even cast in the first one, and she wasn't even featured at all in the trailers. So I thought to myself, well, how much screen time can they possibly give her? And they didn't give her a lot, but it was effective and memorable. I can say that. I love the new villain in this movie. Not Walton Goggins, who plays Sonny Birch. I think he was just a complete waste. And I'm glad that they ended him the way they did in the movie, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about when you see the movie. But the new villain, Ghost. Once again, Marvel just continues to just have this sort of emphasis on their villains, particularly in Phase 3. I mean, it kind of started, I guess you could say, technically, it kind of started with Ego. It continued to a much higher place with Vulture, and then of course Hela. It reached a sky-high limit with Killmonger, and it just breached that sky-high area with that guy, Thanos. And it kind of scaled down in this movie with Ghost, but it was already so high that, I mean, you're not gonna top Thanos at this point. Definitely not with an Ant-Man villain. But even though, I mean, I don't want to spoil too much of the movie, but let's just say that the best villains are the ones who. Some people say that the scariest villains are the ones who believe that they're right. The ones that in their mind, they're not the villains, they're the hero. And Ghost in the movie, she's technically not at that level, but, how can I, she... Wow, it's very hard to talk about these things. Let's just say that she doesn't necessarily have that, I'm evil because I'm right, but she's kind of relatable in a sense that you get why she does what she does, and you kind of feel for her. Let's just put it that way. And it doesn't really take too much of the movie to explain why she's doing what she's doing. She just, again, no spoilers, but there's a very logical and, in my opinion, kind of emotional reason why she's doing what she's doing. And the way this character ends in the movie, they end her off at a place where I liked, and I am looking. Wow. I guess I'll just go ahead and say it. I am interested in seeing what they do with this character going forward. I guess I just gave a little bit of a spoiler, but it's not the spoiler. Let's call it what it is. So, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I really love the movie. The villain is one of the reasons I think this movie is better than the first one, because I think the villain in the first one was kind of a waste of a potentially better villain, but it is what it is. So, Ant-Man and the Wasp. The Wasp. I love this movie. I'm going to see it again. I hope I will see it again. But until then, see you guys next time. And my mouse is stuck. Hold on. These kind of things happen when you're doing this stuff all your own. Goodbye. Hello again, everybody. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, where I do all kinds of weird stuff like showcase all these things, you know, trailer reactions, movie reviews, all kinds of fun stuff. So, until next time, I'll see you guys next time.